beyond the edge of the known world, where mountains pierced the clouds and jungles breathed with ancient life, there lay a hidden valley. Generations of people had built their homes there, planting crops in the shadow of towering cliffs, living between beauty and fear. For above the jungle canopy, a dragon reigned. Its shadow often swept across the fields, sending birds scattering and villagers trembling. Whispers filled the air. The dragon watches us. It brings fire and storms. And though the valley thrived, peace was never complete, for the people lived each day under the looming presence of the beast. At sunset, the skies above the valley darkened as a massive shadow swept across the land. The villagers looked up in terror, their hearts pounding as the dragon's wings blotted out the fading light. Its roar thundered through the mountains, shaking the trees and echoing across the cliffs. Mothers pulled their children indoors, while men gripped spears with trembling hands. To the people, this was no guardian, but a curse that haunted their lives. Yet the dragon did not strike. It circled the valley in silence, golden eyes watching from above, before vanishing into the mist, leaving fear and whispers behind. Among the frightened villagers was a young boy, different from the rest. While others cowered in fear, he stood at the edge of the fields, his red scarf fluttering in the wind, eyes fixed on the dragon's distant shape. His friends mocked him, laughing that he was too foolish to be afraid. But the boy felt something they could not see. To him, the dragon's golden eyes did not shine with cruelty, but with loneliness. He wondered if the beast was not the monster everyone believed, but a soul waiting for someone brave enough to understand it. Before dawn, while the village still slept, the boy wrapped his red scarf tightly around his neck and slipped away into the mist, with only a lantern in hand and a wooden staff to steady his steps. He began the long climb toward the dragon's mountain lair. The path was steep and treacherous, winding past roaring waterfalls and cliffs wrapped in clouds. The jungle below faded into silence, replaced by the sound of his own breath and the distant echo of wings high above. Though fear pressed heavy in his chest, each step carried him closer, for his heart burned with a courage greater than his fear. At last, the boy reached the mouth of the cavern, its walls glowing faintly with moss in the dim light. A deep growl rumbled from within, and the dragon emerged, its emerald scales shimmering, golden eyes blazing with fire. The ground shook as it lowered its massive head, jaws parting in a roar that echoed through the mountains. The boy trembled, every instinct urging him to run, yet he stood his ground. Slowly, he raised his hand, palm open, not in defiance, but in peace. For a long moment, the cavern fell silent, only the sound of wind and the dragon's breath between them. The beast's eyes narrowed in suspicion, then softened, as if seeing in the boy something no one had ever shown before: kindness. Night after night, the boy returned to the dragon's cave, no longer with fear, but with quiet determination. He brought food, fresh fruit from the jungle, fish from the streams, laying them gently before the beast. At first, the dragon only watched, its golden eyes cautious. but slowly it began to accept the offerings. The boy spoke to it as though to a friend, sharing stories of his village, of the stars above the valley, and of his dreams to see the world beyond the mountains. Sometimes he sang softly, his voice echoing against the cavern walls, and the dragon would lower its head, listening. Bit by bit, the distance between them faded, until one night the boy reached out and touched its scales. The dragon did not roar or strike. Instead, it let out a low, rumbling breath, a sound not of anger, but of trust. But while the bond between boy and dragon quietly grew, the villagers' patience wore thin. One stormy night, they gathered once more in the village square, their torches blazing against the dark. Anger echoed in their voices as the leader declared the dragon's end was near. Men armed themselves with spears and shields, women carried bundles of firewood, and children clutched at their mothers, watching with fearful eyes. The chant rose louder with each step. Destroy the beast, until the sound rolled like thunder through the valley. And so a river of fire and steel began its march toward the mountain, their shadows stretching long across the jungle paths, their hearts set on war. At the mouth of the cave, the villagers arrived, their torches blazing like a storm of fire against the night. The dragon rose from the shadows, wings unfurling with a thunderous sweep, its roar shaking the mountains. Spears were raised, fear and fury burning in the villagers' eyes. But before a single weapon could fly, the boy stepped forward, standing between the dragon and his people, his red scarf whipping in the wind. Arms spread wide, he cried out, his voice breaking through the chaos. Stop! It is not our enemy. The dragon lowered its wings, folding them protectively around the boy, its golden eyes glowing not with rage, but with fierce guardianship. For the first time, the villagers saw the beast not as a monster, but as a protector, because it chose to shield, not destroy. Dawn broke over the valley, and with it came a new beginning. No longer a terror in the skies, the dragon soared above the fields, its vast wings guiding the clouds that brought life-giving rain to the crops. From the village below, the people no longer cowered. They looked up in awe, their hearts changed by what they had witnessed. The beast they once feared now circled as their guardian, keeping away wild predators, watching over their homes. On the cliffs above, the boy stood beside the dragon, his hand resting gently against its scales, the rising sun painting them both in gold. In that moment, the valley knew peace, born not of fear or war, but of courage, trust, and a bond that would never be broken. As the years passed, the tale of the boy and the dragon became more than a story. It became a legend whispered across the valley. Parents told their children of the day a single child's courage turned fear into friendship, and how a dragon's mighty heart was tamed by kindness. The valley flourished under the dragon's watch, its fields rich with harvest, its nights safe beneath wings that once cast only shadows of dread, and on quiet mornings when the sun rose above the mountains, villagers would see the boy and the dragon together upon the cliff, guardians of their world. In time, the people no longer spoke of a monster, but of a protector, and the boy who proved that even the fiercest soul can be changed by compassion. Thus, the legend of the boy who tamed the dragon lived on, carried by every dawn that broke over the valley.